Hi and welcome to the ninth and last episode in the 365 Days of Compassion video series, within which I've been taking a look at some of the core concepts and practices of compassionate mind training within compassion focused therapy. My name's Chris. I'm not a professional. I'm merely sharing what I've experienced, what I've learnt, and what actually helps me on a day-to-day basis. So I thought in this last episode I would just do a kind of bit of a recap, and I thought I'd spend a few minutes exploring what this has helped me on a day-to-day basis, why I find it so helpful, and then actually just to go on to what is 365 Days of Compassion, because that underlines what it's meant to me. So, in terms of a brief recap, what we've considered is the definition of compassion from within compassionate mind training, and so that's considering compassion as a motivation towards distress and, where possible, being able to alleviate it. We've considered those flows of compassion, so 3 flows: towards others, receiving it from others, and to ourselves. How some of those systems that have evolved, our brain processes, our behaviour mechanisms have evolved, often with the intent to help us to live and survive, but often, particularly in this modern world that we live in, actually can often cause us problems, particularly when threat and drive are often fully engaged 24/7, and we don't really get that chance to really rest and nourish ourselves, which is where the soothing system can help. We've considered how you can develop a compassionate self and really deepen how you use those 3 systems and balance perhaps threat and drive more with the soothing, and also how to embrace those 3 flows, particularly the more tricky self-compassion one. And we've looked at a few of the exercises which I found most helpful. I've not gone through all of the exercises and different practices as there can be within compassionate mind training, but I particularly found the breathing, the soothing rhythm breathing, and the way that can help to engage with the psychological and physiological processes around the soothing system very helpful. And imagery and writing have been hugely important to me. So those are all covered in much detail in the previous episodes. I've been trying to think how I'm going to express this next part, and it's, what does this actually mean to me? I guess on a day-to-day basis, it has changed a lot of my thinking process. So perhaps reducing some of the perfectionist and kind of critical thinking and switching that to a more wise coach or encourager type approach. It's probably enabled me a little bit better to receive compassion from others, and I think it's probably deepened the flow of compassion to others. But I think the key one has been around developing this compassionate self piece, and particularly towards self-compassion. And I think in one of the earlier videos I did highlight that compassionate self and self-compassion are 2 separate, obviously linked but separate things. But self-compassion, particularly within something like depression, is I think a lifesaver. I don't think there are many of us that wouldn't benefit from being more self-compassionate, and it's particularly true when you are suffering something like depression, where your thought process is not helpful towards yourself, and a lot of those negative aspects like the criticism, etc., are completely amplified. So I guess what it's done is enhanced or enriched, perhaps that's a better word, the relationship with myself. I really do want to stress that, though, that doesn't mean I've reached some stage. I think this is just an ongoing process. Some days are better than others. Sometimes my compassionate behaviour can be different. Some days that of depression needs a bit more compassionate cheese than other days. You don't always get everything right, but the key thing there is to hold yourself still responsible, but with a gentle encouragement to try and learn from that, and to continue as best you can along this compassionate mind process, and kind of, sorry, process is the wrong word there. I'm just trying to avoid the word journey because I don't kind of like that, but it's this day-to-day experience, and I think it just changes very subtly. I think last episode, or perhaps the one before, I said that there is no end goal here, so there isn't a point when, you know, Professor Paul Gilbert turns up at your house with a certificate and says, there you go, you've just achieved it. It's about you noticing small changes. And it is a daily thing. It's building exercises in is one thing, but you find it eventually it starts to just becoming part of daily life, and that perhaps leads on to what 365 Days of Compassion is about. And for those not aware, that has a very interesting, I guess, or very simple starting point, in that Dr. Mary Welford, who's one of the founders of the Compassionate Mind Foundation, worked alongside Paul, had this idea during December 2017, where she was going to post an advent of compassion as a lead up between Christmas, so kind of an advent calendar, but doing it on Twitter with the kind of daily post of something compassionate, or about compassion. And this was such a great idea, such a simple idea actually, you know, in terms of just having something daily and just making you think in that respect, that I thought it might be quite good to do this every day of the year. So that's where 365 Days of Compassion came along, and I wanted to put a little bit of structure around that. So we did it on Twitter and Facebook at the time. So we have a Facebook group and Twitter. So on there people post daily things. It can be simple videos, it could be quotes, etc. And then, because there was so much great content being shared, I created a weekly newspaper, online newspaper, which pulls together some of that content and makes for, I think, a really nice, compassionate collection to sit down at the weekend with a nice coffee and catch up on some compassionate articles and videos, and I think that's just a really nice thing, and it kind of took off. And what was surprising was, because it wasn't intended, was there's been a community built around that, full of people from all walks of life, from all backgrounds, from all different relationships with CMT. We have some of the world experts in compassion focused therapy and compassionate mind training who've joined in with that. People like myself who've experienced it from a therapeutic point of view, just people who are interested. Not everybody posts, and they don't have to, it's just open. And this year, so that was kind of where we got it going during 2018, 2019. Went onto a few other platforms, so Instagram and a community blog as well. And a monthly book club, which has been brilliant as well. We've had some authors come on, such as Mary, Dr. Chris Irons and Dr. Elaine Beaumont, about the workbook. And it's just been an hour on Twitter, great chat, and for all those authors who have appeared, and for all those I hope will get onto a future book club, thank you, because I know the community has thoroughly enjoyed those events. But the big thing, and it really ties in with an underlying part of the compassionate mind and the compassionate flows, is the connection. So quite a lot of us have got to know each other. We've never met. people across the world. But we've connected, and I think, actually I don't know actually how to express that, because it was never intended, and it's been a brilliant thing actually, and I've personally benefited from quite a lot, so this is a bit of a thank you to all of the community around the hashtag on whatever platform, however people engage, whether they post, just read or share, or it doesn't matter. If something that somebody shares helps one person, then that's it. That's a good thing. So I'm going to end on something called a loving kindness set of words. So this is something that can be used in different ways. You can be building, sending compassionate wishes to yourself or to others, and there are various different versions of wording around this, but I'm going to choose these words. So I'm going to find this really difficult doing this to the camera actually, but here we go. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be content. And may you find the strength and courage to tolerate the difficulties in life. And with that, I will thank you very much for watching the videos. I hope you found them useful. So thank you, and take care. Bye bye.